All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to Humpday Hangouts episode 206. We are now 2 episodes away from the big 208, which will be 4 years, or the 4-year anniversary of Humpday Hangouts with Semantic Mastery. Anyways, back to today. It is the 17th of October with POFU live just around the corner. But before we get into some announcements and into the questions, we got a few of the team here. I think Chris and Hernan are in travel right now. Chris is probably literally flying or at the airport. And I think Hernan's making his way up from, I don't know, I think he's in Florida or something. So anyways, let's say hi to Marco. How you doing, man?
Wow, I'm at a loss for words. I'm first. The Latinos first. Holy crap.
We can just keep those guys out of here every week.
Right? What's up? What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? I'm excited. Deep in the lab. Deep in the lab. I mean, that's all I can say. I'll be posting an image in a little bit, but it's incredible the type of stuff that we're doing. And I don't know. That's just a little tease. I'm just happy.
Nice, nice. Well, we got something else I know you'd be interested in, but I'll wait until we talk to Bradley. So anyways, Bradley, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm super excited about POFU Live this weekend. I've been working on preparing the content for that, the presentation and stuff all week long. And I'm just super excited about it. And there's the processes that I've been developing for the local lease pro scaling method that I promised the POFU Live attendees. And I'm just super excited because like the processes are almost 100% complete. Almost, not yet, but almost. And it's going to allow us to be able to scale that local lease pro business incredibly fast because it will be 100% outsourced. And the POFU Live members are going to get all those process docs so they can start training their own in-house virtual assistants to do it, which is, I mean, that's the bottleneck, guys. Trying to do this stuff yourself is why you won't grow your business, or at least not rapidly. By duplication, through duplication, which is what you can do with proper processes in place and, you know, systematizing each task, which is what I've done for those members. It's incredible. And I'm super excited about it. In fact, in spending the last like 3 days now, working the full days on just developing these process docs for some more complex stuff too. You know, I'm thinking like, damn, I should have done this, you know, 3 years ago. Now, granted, the local lease pro method that we just basically discovered wasn't working quite as easily as it is right now before, but still having like an entire, like from start to finish, you know, campaign, SEO campaign, basically outsourced the exact way that I want it to be done. Like I could have probably developed out a very complex process like this, you know, 3 years ago and just been really building out my assets. But still a lot of this stuff I've done on my own, guys, which I know a lot of you do. Still do a lot of tasks in your business. And that's what I'm realizing, and what we're going to be teaching about at POFU Live is to remove yourself from the day-to-day operations, right? So that you stop being the bottleneck and you can really grow your business. And so sometimes it takes me having to remind others to remind myself, if that makes sense. And I'm really excited about sharing this with everybody. And in the coming months, I'm going to be growing that part of the business with some of the members from POFU Live that want to do it as well. And so it's going to be kind of documented, and we're going to do it together. It's really, I'm super excited for it, if you can't tell.
Awesome. I'll put the link up there, you guys. I think, well, I don't think, I know we set the limit at 25. That's literally the limit we can take. And I believe we have 1 ticket left. There might be 2. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'll put the link in there if you're nearby, or if you can make the trip up there. You know, you can still come join us. The VIP tickets are sold out, but you can still grab a last-minute ticket if you want to do that. Also, real quick, just wanted to say that, Marco, correct me if I'm wrong here, but syndication networks are ready to go in mgyb.co, right?
They're absolutely ready to go. The syndication network builders are there. We've got everything in-house, and they're just ready to crank them out.
Awesome. So go ahead, and if anyone needs to grab those, you put the link on there right there. You can literally head over there and order those. We've had a lot of questions coming in, so please go ahead and do that. Also, real quick, if you are new to Semantic Mastery, first of all, thanks for watching. I like to say this at the beginning of episodes, but I realize some people, this may be the first time, so we appreciate you checking us out. You can ask questions live. You can always go to semanticmastery.com/hdquestions. You can also just check out the replays, whatever you want to do. But if you want to ask questions, you have to go to that link, and then you can pop them on there. And the place that is the best for you to start, which this is one of the most asked questions, is with the battle plan. And I'm going to put the link in. If you're watching the replay, you can find that in the description. But grab the battle plan. It's a great way to have a process to start your SEO, whether you're dealing with new sites, age sites. You want to find out more about how to use press releases, whatever it is, it's in there. And if you're already at a higher level and you're looking for the place to be, come join our mastermind. The link is also down there. Come check it out. Check out some of the success stories we have. And if that's where you want to go, you can also reach out to us if you want to find out more information about that. All right. With that said, you guys, any more announcements, or did I miss anything?
I'm good. Marco?
I'm good too.
All right.
Then let's get to it. I'm going to grab the screen. We got a lot of questions, so. All right. Pixie Purr, or Jerry, it looks like, says, hello, awesome people. I am looking for a way to create multiple social networks in one time as fast as possible. Do you know about a software or a way to do that? Yeah, I mean, there are softwares to do it. The problem is that I've always had, Jerry, with those, or that we've seen, because I don't even, usually I don't run that kind of software. I let somebody else do it. Is it, like, for example, one of our link building manager, Deddy, he's amazing. He's actually going to be at POFU Live, which is awesome. Anyways, he always he builds a lot of accounts and stuff using automated software because he does all the link building, right? So he uses but the problem with those accounts is they often get terminated easily because it's easy for a lot of those platforms to detect that are being created through an automated fashion. And so those accounts typically are quick to be terminated. In other words, they don't last very long, or they're real touchy in that if the platform suspects that they're spammy profiles to begin with and they allow them to remain live, then they will often have pretty strict, like tripwires on them, to where if you do something else, it could cause it to be terminated. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, if you understand all that and you still want something to do it, I can't recommend any off the top of my head because I don't use them. But I know Abs Ravji has he's Video Marketing Blitz was the tool, or video prospecting. Yeah, I think it was Video Marketing Blitz was the name of his product. I know he's got a tool that does that. I think he's got a standalone tool that does it, and all of his products are typically very good. But again, I would recommend if anybody here that's watching the webinar has any suggestions, if they have any tools that they use for creating social profiles, please post on the event page for recommendations. Marco, do you know of any? I know you don't like to do them with tools either.
Absolutely not. They get done the Semantic Mastery way, Syndication Academy. We tie them together, and it's hardly ever that we get an account terminated.
Yeah. So what Marco's saying is, like, for example, all of our networks that we build, the Google properties for Drive Stacks, all of that are always built manually. We don't use automated tools for creating accounts. Now, sometimes I purchase already created accounts, but it depends on what I'm using them for, right? So again, I'm sorry, I can't recommend any. It's just because we do everything manually. We have a bunch of VAs, and if we need profiles created, we just have the VAs do it because they do it manually, and those tend to stick a lot longer. So like I said, that's something you may want to consider, is maybe finding a good account provider to purchase already done for you accounts. And I've got one that I can recommend right here, as a matter of fact. MetroBiz, bulkpva.com is the website, which is bulk phone verified accounts. And you can see that there's a bunch of different social accounts in here that you can already buy pre-made. So if you need a bunch of them, might be a good way too. This is a good provider. He will replace, broken or terminated accounts and stuff within a certain amount of time and all that. So I would check into that too. But if you're dead set on doing it through a software, then just sorry, I can't help you with that, but I'm sure somebody else can. And you might want to post that in one of our groups, whatever group you're in, and we can, others can comment on it, provide suggestions. In fact, if you post in Facebook, we can tag Dedia on that post, and he will be able to tell you what tools he uses for his link building stuff for creating accounts. I'm sure he'd be happy to share that with you. Okay, Jack Daunter says, do you use proxies with Ghost Browser or BrowSEO when doing stuff with GMB accounts? Going through Local Lease Pro and wanting to make sure if I set it up correctly. No, you don't need to. You absolutely don't need to. the key to this, guys, is IPs used to be one of the ways that Google could determine if you were doing spammy stuff, because if you were always logging in to accounts through the same IP, then Google could associate that, you know, IP with spammy activity and basically flag everything that you do, right? Or scrutinize everything that you do that much more anyways. But because of how prevalent Wi-Fi is now, and so many different people and different devices are connected through the same public Wi-Fi through, you know, Starbucks and all these other things, you know, everywhere has public Wi-Fi now. It's common now for there to be multiple different kind of accounts and devices signed into one IP, right? That's absolutely common. It's normal. It's natural. And so that's why we don't have to worry about hiding stuff through proxies anymore with the tools like BrowSEO or Ghost Browser, because we can sign in to each individual profile that has its own browsing session, which is going to keep all of its browsing history and cookies and cache, and it's going to accrue. Google will be able to build a profile based upon its history, right? That profile's browsing history, the sites that they visit, the activities that they perform while online, right? And so all of that keeps, that's why I don't know if that's the proper term, but in Local Lease Pro, I called those applications browser keepers, right? Because it keeps all of the activity within the browsing session for that particular profile. And so even when you close the software down, when you reopen it, you don't have to log in everything again because you're already logged in. It's kept all of its history, right? So that's perfectly normal. That's natural. And that's why you don't need to have proxies anymore. So to answer your question, that's why I didn't say anything about proxies, because this, remember, Local Lease Pro is supposed to be for the side hustler, maybe not necessarily IM people. And so you're overcomplicating it by injecting proxies into it. Does that make sense? I made it as simple as possible for a reason, because a lot of the people that were going to be, you know, exposed to that product or that training aren't necessarily SEOs or internet marketing people. And so I wanted to make it as easy as possible, and you don't need proxies. And that's why I don't mention proxies at all in that training, if that makes sense. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. You don't need them. You know, if you're a tinfoil hat type of guy and you're really worried about it, then you could use proxies, but that's an added expense and an added complication that's really unnecessary at this point. Okay. All right, Mohammed's up. What's up, Mohammed? He says, hey, guys, after a long absence, I'm finally getting close to being back in the mastermind once again. Well, we're excited to have you back, Mohammed. You always engage. You know, you're one of our most engaged members when you're there. So until then, though, I need some advice from the SM crew. It looks long, but it's just one question. I moved to a new city a few months back, and I've been going to lots of meetups, events, etc. Well, I met this guy who also owns a digital marketing agency, but non-SEO related. And I told him about the SM way: build assets, generate leads, and use those assets to profit. Apparently, this is rocket science, because I got blasted. He couldn't believe that lead gen was an ethical thing since the business's results weren't guaranteed. Well, how is it our fault if a lawyer can't convert leads? Our job ends at the lead, but apparently this put the blame on the client, which is a bad thing and hurts the relationship. Also, he said by charging per lead or even by post for GMB, it's not results-based because the client wouldn't be guaranteed results. Yeah, it's activity-based. It's not results-based, Mohammed. That's correct. I mean, he's right about that. I'm not results-based because the client wouldn't be guaranteed results. Yeah, that's what, you know, I've been saying before, is like content marketing is an activity-based thing. You can sell it as an activity-based thing, which is really how you should do it. You should frame it that way, because if you promise results from that, then you're on the hook to produce results. Now, the way I frame it is like, you know, I charge on a per post basis for whether it's a blog post or GMB post or whatever. And then I tell them, like, this is how many you're going to get per month. That way there's quantify, like they can quantify what they're spending, right? What they're spending money on. They have a tangible, right? The tangible is they're getting this many items for this amount of dollars, right? And so that way now the idea is that, you know, the trend that I've seen is that historically, by doing this many posts, we're going to see an improvement in ranking, or an increase of leads, an increase of activity and engagement online, an increase of exposure, which ultimately leads to increase of leads, right? But what you're promising is a certain number of activity, the certain number of posts for X amount of dollars. Does that make sense? So that's the way I frame it, because then you're literally you're delivering what you promised. It's a tangible deliverable in that you could say at the end of the month when you send your report, if you're billing them for 24 posts out of the month, I just pulled that number out of the air, but just say you're billing them for 24 posts, you can show the 24 posts and say there's the 24 posts that have been posted in the last 30 days. Does that make sense? So anyways, go ahead.
I would say that there's two other things too, because also, like you said, Bradley, I know you work with at least one partner that you do results-based, but it's just based on closed leads, right? So that's the other way, I think, of thinking about this. And the other thing, Mohammed, is to say, well, then, you know, how does PPC work? Because Google will send lawyers leads or clicks for $150 a pop, but they don't guarantee them anything.
Those aren't leads either. Those are just clicks.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that that's your kind of comeback if you need one, which you don't. You know, you're in the right. There's nothing unethical about what you're doing. It's just the matter of framing it. And obviously, this guy,
and
about it for some reason.
And Mohammed, you know, I see what you're saying. He said, you know, to be honest, it was just a discussion, but I didn't like being talked down to for what I know is ethical. How would you guys react to that? Well, Mohammed, one thing is your confidence will grow over time, buddy. It will, and so. I could see you being on the defensive as I have been in the past. But, you know, once you get to a certain level, then you could laugh at somebody that reacts like that because you know a better way, right? You know a better way that keeps you in control of the asset, right? Which puts you in ultimate, it keeps you, that's like job security. In other words, it's a way to secure revenue that for all the work that and maintain, you know, it's a way to protect all the work that you did. That's the word I was looking for. Protect all the work that you've done because it's generating you revenue. And if for whatever reason a client decides that they don't want to pay you or they're just assholes and you don't like them anymore, you can kick them to the curb or they can stop paying you. It doesn't matter. However the relationship ends, good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter because you still have an asset that you can continue to monetize. Either by directing leads to another person or another company, whatever. You could sell the pay-per-call exchange, whatever. So that's what I would say is like, how is that not, you know, so what I'm saying is you could laugh at something like that and just avoid a conversation like that altogether. Or if you had some higher confidence level, which will come with time, then you could rebut that in a smart way. I mean, another, like what Adam said with PPC, pay-per-click ads, the same thing. You're paying for a click. It's not a lead. It's not, I mean, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 clicks or 5 clicks to get to convert to an actual lead, right? Just because somebody clicks the website doesn't make them a lead. They have to submit a form or pick up the phone and call, right? At which point that becomes a conversion or a lead, right? But that a lot of the times there's multiple clicks for a lead before a conversion action occurs. And so is Google unethical for that? And maybe so, but so what? That's the normal, it's a normal business model, right? And one more thing is like, the other pay-per lead type companies like Home Advisor, you should ask them about that. To me, that's unethical because Home Advisor, now they tell you that they do this. So, but what Home Advisor does is generates the lead, right? And then they sell that same lead to 3 to 5 contractors, right? So there's 3 to 5 contractors that go bid on the same job that for the same lead, right? Does that make sense? And so what you're offering is exclusivity of leads. At least that's how I pitch my lead gen service. I say the leads that I generate are going to be 100% exclusively for you and you only. I won't cross-sell those leads to other contractors, unlike Home Advisor and some of the other pay-per-lead companies, right? So my point is, I would redirect it and say to that, like, hey, what do you? I'm unethical. My leads are my leads are exclusive. When I generate leads, they go to one person and one person only, whoever my service provider is. There are other companies out there that their entire business model is selling the same lead to multiple contractors. Okay. So anyways, you know, when I get into a conversation with somebody that, especially when they start to condescend and talk down, Mohammed, like what this guy was, I just walk away because I've got bigger and better things to do with my time. If I was going to debate the guy, I would just flat out say a couple things like what I just did with you. And I'd say, you know, I'd turn around and walk away.
And you're right, Mohammed. He'd faint if he had said that to me because I had to put him on full blast mode. The fuck are you talking about? You don't even know what results-based is. Yeah. If we're talking about results-based, because that at any part of that sales funnel could be the result. How do you define the result? I mean, you could go into a whole philosophical conversation with this guy on just the word result. What the fuck is a result? If you're promising your client a closed lead, then you'd better be in charge of closing, because there's no other way that you can promise a closed lead you don't know what the guy's sales funnel is like. The guy's sales funnel could be atrocious. The conversion rate could be atrocious. And then you'd end up just butting your head against the wall because you wouldn't be seeing any closed leads. That's one way, right? The what Bradley has with his partner, what I have with a few people. That's the result. The other way, your result is the fucker gets a call. That's the result. What happens with that call is definitely not your problem. Right. It becomes the problem of whoever's closing the leads for the lawyer. No, the lawyer is not responsible unless he's the one closing the leads. Now, if he's an idiot at closing, that's not your problem because you still completed your goal, your result. I mean, this can go on and on and on, but I'd have never let this guy get away with this shit. He was just in his high horse. Man, get the fuck off your high horse, man. Come down here and talk to me. Otherwise, fuck you.
Greg Pippin's up. He says, hey, guys, I have some structured data questions. I'm using the SEO Ultimate Plus plugin and using the plugin's article markup as well as its code inserter module. All right, there's 4 questions here, Greg. So I think we'll answer 2 of them, and then we're going to have to move on unless all 4 of them can be answered really quickly, only because, guys, we can't do that. It's not fair to everybody. So anyways, when adding question and answer markup, the pages validate in Google testing tool with one warning, missing a Q&A page markup item on page to which this item should be associated. This happens with 3 variations of code, including one from SEMRush. Any idea what that could be? Any advice where I could get a simple code, valid Q&A code? Okay, so the page is validated. Okay, you said the page is validated. So you're not just testing the code, you're actually testing the URL where the code resides, right? Then I'm not sure what to tell you about that, honestly. I'm not a structured data nerd. I know enough about it and all I ever do is the local business markup to this point, guys, so I can't really answer that. Marco, can you give any answer to that?
Yeah, we did a Q&A recently for someone, and it validates. And so, Greg, I think Greg is in RYS Reloaded, isn't he?
I don't know.
You're in one of our groups, and I think I saw this in one of our groups. So just push it up and just tag me on it, Greg, so I can go and look at the code. I can grab the code from our programmer, and then post it in there. It's really simple. It's not really all that difficult. Sometimes you run into problems and you just have to clean it up.
Yeah. So number 2, as far as I know, you can just, if for whatever reason, but I can't, again, I don't know enough, Greg, to even answer number 2. Marco, can you answer it? He's saying that the value, like the pixel value for the code says it needs to be 60, but his logo is actually 350 by 350. So if he enters that value of like pixel height for 60 or whatever, will that affect it? I don't think it will because I've done that kind of stuff in WordPress, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll affect the structured data or not.
Yeah, he said it validated when he tried that.
So I mean, I would just leave it then at that point.
Yeah, it validates. That's all you need. Google says it's good.
Google states that the image using article markup must be marked up itself, and the marked up image must directly belong to that news article. I don't want to add a large 1,000 pixel image to a post and start slowing down load times. What does belong to that article mean? And does that mean I must first do an image markup? Honestly, I can't answer that, Greg. I'm not a structured data nerd. Any answer for that, Marco?
No, that one's beyond me. I don't even know.
Okay.
What that is. A lot of this stuff I don't do. I have someone doing all this stuff, so I can't answer that.
Yeah, and again, I apologize, Greg. It's just that's way down into the weeds. It's not something I typically mess around with that much. I try to do the higher level stuff, so I'm not real sure about that. I know we've got Ryan Rodden who does. Yeah, that's what you ought to do. Is shit. What, Adam? Are you still on? Do we know? Schema.pro, right? I think it's schema.pro.
He's still, I think he's not.
He's not selling the product, the training anymore, but he does do done for you structured data markup. That's not it.
Damn it. If we, in the background.
Yeah, if we can find the URL, and we can paste it on there and maybe tag Greg.
Yeah, I'll put it on the page for Greg.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know Ryan Rodden, he's a structured data ninja, guys, and he does like done for you structured data stuff. So like if you have any issues like this, you can hire him and he'll code it out for you. And that's what I would do, Greg. Unless you really want to learn all this stuff, I would just, like, even if you want to learn it, just buy it from him, get it done correctly one time, and then just study the hell out of it. And then you can figure out how to do it from there, right? Let a professional do it for you once. That's how I do stuff, guys. This is not something I'd spend a lot of time on. I would just hire somebody like Ryan to do it for me. And then if I wanted to learn how to do it, I would just study the completed doc, like, the completed code, and see how I could apply that to my next blog post or whatever. Does that make sense? So anyways, Daniel says, is it a good idea to set up a GMB for a non-local business? Yes, Daniel, because it validates the entity. It absolutely is a good idea. Like, for example, I license my music to musicians, singers, songwriters, hip-hop artists, podcasts, YouTubers all over the world. If I created a GMB profile, would it benefit my site since GMB is great at giving relevancy signals to Google? Yeah, again, guys, even like a virtual business, which would be like an online business, like an e-commerce store, you could still register that as a GMB, right? If you have a brand, right? If you have a corporate entity of any sort, even a solopreneur, but you're doing business at, I say solopreneur, I'm thinking of sole proprietor. That's what I was thinking of, sole proprietor. Even as a sole proprietor, if you're doing business, you're going to have like a DBA, right? Doing business as, and any one of those can be considered you can create a GMB profile under. Okay, so a brand, absolutely you can. Just use whatever you want for your address, whether it's your home or if you have an office or whatever. You can absolutely do that, and I recommend you do.
I would say that even if he were just using his name, Daniel Hartnett, it would totally differentiate this Daniel Hartnett who does all of these things from all the other Daniel Hartnetts doing whatever.
Yeah. And
so that it's just a great idea. It's called disambiguation. I don't want you guys to get all caught up in the word. It just means you separate yourself from all of the others, like you or anyone else who might be using even your name, because there are people who do that. And so it's just a great way for you to set yourself apart and just let Google know everything that you do. It would be great then if you shared your GMB profile with all of these YouTubers, hip hop artists, songwriters, and whatever all over the world, and they were to come into your GMB. I mean, that would really solidify your GMB, because you have all of these people who then know who this person is coming and looking at your GMB, your listing, and everything that's attached to it, images, videos, whatever it is that they're looking at. It just totally solidifies the entity and helps you create your name plus keyword relevance, which is absolutely what you want.
Yep. Okay, Michael Wheaton's up. He says, hey guys, I just finished the Local Lease Pro course. Fantastic course. +1 that. It truly is a business in a box. There is one thing I'm a little fuzzy on, though. If I am leasing a GMB in the 3-pack to a client with a call center answering service and I agree to rebrand it to match their branding, what happens to the literally hundreds of citations that will no longer reflect the change in branding? Do they have to be updated as well? If so, what's the best way to manage that? Outsourcing? Are there tools or services that will help locate all the citations out there so they can be updated? Thanks much. Yes. Okay, Michael, that's a great question. So I'm going to be doing an update webinar in November for local GMB, local Lease Pro buyers. I'm going to do an update webinar in November, and we can address that. That's a really good question. But so that's part of the reason why I typically, that's one of the last things I do is order citations, and it's typically only if I need to, because as shown in the training, the specific method that I do, but primarily the press release is one of the things that I use to push it into the 3-pack. If you've done your research correctly, as shown in the training, you should be finding opportunities that are likely going to rank into the 3-pack with just the minimal amount of work that I show in the training. Press releases being primarily the only off-page thing that I do. I mentioned doing citations because it does help, and especially once you have a service provider in place. That's why I'm saying, what I'm saying about rebranding is I typically wait to build traditional citations, which are business directory listings, until after I found a service provider and established a relationship, which could be a month or 2 or 3, where I'm sending them leads and they're paying on time, or whether they're leasing the property or they're paying on a pay per lead basis. However the arrangement is I have with them. Once I've become comfortable with them, we've established a good working relationship, then I will offer to them to rebrand. That might be used in the pitch initially, by the way, when I offer to you know, to lease them the asset or whatever, I might tell them, hey, look, once we've established a good working relationship, I'm happy to rebrand it. But we need to make sure that, you know, we need to go through a probationary or a trial period. And I'll say, you know, 90 days or 3 months or 6 weeks or whatever it may be, depending on how I feel about that particular contractor when I'm pitching them, right? So once that time has elapsed and the good working relationship has been established, then I will think about rebranding. And if there's no citations out there, like traditional citations, which would be business directory listings, and all it really has been pushed in there with, or I've gotten results from, was the press release and then the GMB posts, which is critical, right? Those are in my opinion, the two most critical things initially. Then we can rebrand it, and no citations have been built. And from that point forward, you can start building citations, which, by the way, you'd have a paying contractor or service provider at that point, which you can set up the monthly citation subscription, which is what I highly recommend. So I would, again, I would initially wait, and I'll talk about all this in the update webinar, because some of these questions have been coming through in various, you know, groups and PMs and stuff like that. And so I want to address these commonly asked questions, and I certainly will. But again, I would recommend waiting on citations, traditional citations, until after you've got a service provider in place. Now, that said, what if you've already built a GMB asset and you've already built a bunch of citations using the generic or pseudo business name, right? Whatever your mock name is for that business until you get a service provider. Well, you can still rebrand because remember, 99% of any leads generated from that brand is going to be from the GMB asset itself. It's going to be because it was found in search or maps by most likely, more often than not, mobile device users. It's not from Yelp. It's likely it's not from Yelp. It's not from Yellow Pages and Angie's List and all the other business directories that you might have citations on. They're finding you from Google. Like, let's just be honest, right? That's where they're finding you. So what you can do is rebrand the cover image and the images on the GMB website with the client's logo, and the client's, like, it would be the client's logo, but it would still be your website address and your phone number, right? Because so that you can track all it's your stuff. You wouldn't put like their phone number on your GMB asset. You would just rebrand it with images, and you can do that by changing the cover photo. And so, for example, let's just use this. Let's say my my pseudo company name is you know, Atlanta Plumbing Pros. Okay, let's just say it's Atlanta Plumbing Pros, and then Joe's Plumbing, who happens to be a plumber in Atlanta, he decides he wants to secure or rent my assets, my GMB assets that I have in the Atlanta area. So what I would do is, instead of replacing Atlanta Plumbing Pros with Joe's Plumbing as the name on the listing, if I'd already had a bunch of citations built to that particular listing, what I would do is just rebrand the images, the photos, the GMB website header, cover photo, right? The profile photo with their logo. I would just put basically all of their branding across the images. And then I might even make a mention on the GMB website about, you know, formerly, or this in this case, what I say, Atlanta Plumbing Pros, Atlanta Plumbing Pros is now being serviced by Joe's Plumbing or something like that. I might put that on there. But remember, guys, nobody's reading the damn text on the GMB websites. The only reason why you put that there is for SEO, right? It's not because anybody that needs a plumber isn't going to go read the website text. They're just going to go to Google and search, you know, plumbing repair or water, you know, drain cleaning or something like that, whatever, Atlanta, and boom, you show up and they're going to call that number. That's it. Okay. So it was a great question, Michael. This is something we're going to cover much more in depth in the update webinar next month. I've got some other stuff I'm going to be sharing in that webinar about some other things that I've been testing for getting results out of these, especially for the ones that don't push into the 3-pack right away. That's kind of what we're going to be going into, some more advanced training to push that stuff into the 3-pack. And guys, it'll be free for anybody that bought the course. That webinar will be. And mastermind members too, obviously. It's a great question though, Michael. But yeah, I recommend waiting on the citations, guys, until after you get a service provider. It just makes it easier that way. Okay, R. Bacon, he says, purchased the Localized Pro and the Side Hustle package, and I'm about halfway through it. I've been playing with the Easy Local Cache app, and I've noticed on all of my searches under the GMB owner verified category, it indicates not found when most of them are claimed. Is that not working now, or am I missing something? I don't know. You know, I don't think I've ever actually gone and double checked. I've just believed what it said in the column. If it says is owner verified, it says yes or no. If it says no, I just assume it's non-owner verified. Typically, you can tell based upon the other columns within that data, right? Like that's why I always talk about if it says non-owner verified, you can usually look if it has it. A lot of those are going to have no website also. You could also look at images, right? How if there's the number of images for their GMB profile, typically it's going to be 0. And then reviews, typically it'll be 0. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes it'll say non-owner verified. There will be a website. There might be an image or two. There might be a couple of reviews. But I'm saying most of the time you'll notice that on non-owner verified or much of the time, maybe not most of the time, but much of the time you'll notice that non-owner verified profiles will be very scarce in having data in the other columns too. It will likely be empty in most of the other columns. Okay, and so that's a good indication. Even if you go see that it's verified, that's not huge to me, guys. That just typically as just a very quick glance at that software, the results, the data, I can determine right off the bat if it's going to be hard. And again, guys, you get better at this the more you look at these, right? It will become second nature to be able to look at these and very quickly be able to determine if it's a good opportunity or not. And guys, not just so you know, I'm doing this more at scale now because I've been developing the processes out and training others how to do this to where, again, I've removed myself out of the process. And we're doing a lot of GMB stuff right now, optimizing these, the same way I teach you guys on Local Lease Pro. And what I've been finding is my overall success rate has come down. I was at around 75% when I first started recording the training, but now it's much lower because I'm doing a much higher volume of these. Like in other words, because I'm doing so many GMBs, like securing so many assets right now, a lot of them aren't popping into the 3-pack right off the bat like I had initially done with some of the first ones that I did manually. But it's not a problem because it's not like they're not going to get into the 3-pack. It's just going to require some of this additional stuff, which is what I'm going to be teaching in the update webinar next month. Okay. So what I'm saying is when you look at that data, just pay attention to the different columns, look at some of those key indicators, go back. And I know it's probably boring as hell to listen to me narrate going through and researching, but I did 2 or 3 different videos on that, on how to analyze that data using from those reports from that software. And if you go through and pay attention to them, and again, I know it's probably boring as hell, but I narrate exactly what I'm looking for, and I show you what opportunities, why I think things look like opportunities. One of the most important things, without giving away too much, would be to look for, even optimized profiles. If none of the physical locations are listed within that particular city, it still, in my opinion, is an opportunity. And I'm testing that right now. That's part of the reason why I don't want to do the update webinar until sometime in mid-November, because I'm testing some of these locations that looked to be uber competitive, yet the specific location of the businesses that are shown isn't in the actual location that I'm searching from. And so even though all the other signals say run away, this is going to be too hard, we're dealing in a hyper local environment right now, guys. And that's why this method works so well, because if we optimize for that very specific location, even among a bunch of uber optimized profiles that aren't in that specific location, we will likely get exposure for people that are in that location because of the way that Google is serving search results now based on hyperlocal. It's hyperlocal, the way that Google is serving, search results now to users. And so that's why I'm saying I think there's opportunity there still regardless. And I'm actually testing that right now. It's too early for me to be able to give you a definitive answer on that, but that will be covered in the update webinar as well. There's another good question, by the way. I'll +1 that if it'll stick. Okay, Ted's up. He says, I want to thank you for the amazing value you gave.
Hey, Bradley, you left up the end of that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you feel keywords everywhere is a reliable tool to assess keywords? I have no idea. I don't know what keywords everywhere is. I'm sorry, guys. I've talked about my keyword research, and then we have now a service for keyword research inside MGYB. But my keyword research consists of the same things it has now for the last 4 or 5 years. It hasn't changed. I always start with Google Trends, and then I go to Power Suggest Pro, And then I might use the Google Keyword Planner just to get kind of a feel for what type of traffic I can expect from keywords. And that's about the extent of my keyword research, guys. So I can't tell you much about keywords everywhere. I don't know.
No, I can't tell them about keywords everywhere, but I mean, we do use a whole bunch of tools for our keyword research projects. But why this stuck out is because we don't use keywords everywhere because we don't need it. We use Power Suggest Pro.
Yep.
Ted Chen is a great programmer. I don't know how he managed it, but I mean, it's just incredible. What happens with Power Suggest Pro is that you can go right for the money. The money is right there. You get all of these long tail keywords, sometimes in the thousands, and when you target that many, you're creating so much relevance. You link internally with all of these keywords that are, of course, semantically associated. You silo them, and if you do everything properly, it's just gold. Because if you're targeting thousands of keywords, all you need is a couple for each one, and you're in the thousands, right? This is why I love Power Suggest Pro, and why it's still part of our keyword research. I mean, it's an integral part. We have a whole tab dedicated to Power Suggest Pro.
All right, Ted says, I want to say thank you for the amazing value you gave in Local Lease Pro. I'm almost done with my research and going to be ready to purchase a few listings. Second thank you is for awesome video carpet bomb service you offer. Okay. Okay. Question. How much do you charge for a 30 to 60 minute consult to talk about my GMB situation opportunity for my brick and mortar rental business? After going through LLP, I see great opportunities, but would like some guidance. Ted, reach out, support@semanticmastery.com, and you can actually request that the ticket be assigned to me, Bradley. Obviously, Chris, our support manager, he'll make sure it gets to me, and I'll reply to you directly about that. Actually, about most of your questions here. So number 1 and number 3. And so number 2, GMB question, is there a way to determine what keywords found in the Insights tab attributed to the click call request for directions? That's a really good question, Marco. Is that possible yet? I don't think they get that granular.
It's what people search for. And that's the Google My Business listing. Something in the Google My Business listing was served to that person searching. No,
but what he's asking, is there a way to determine what keywords found in the Insights tab attributed to the click call request for directions?
It generated the click to call request.
Yeah.
The click, the call. No, there is no way right now to determine that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, the only thing that we have is that we know that those terms were triggered.
Broad engagement of some sort.
Right, whether it's a view or whatever it was, that's what we know. And then we can even target the juicier ones, which is what we do, and we get great results from that.
Yeah, there's a little, I gave this away last week, so I'll give it away now. There's a really good, guys, if you go look at your Insights reports and you see the keywords that are bringing the traffic to your listing, use those keywords in content marketing, right? Use those keywords and you'll find that you'll get even more exposure for those same keywords. It's crazy. It's like Google's it's like they're giving you the keys to the kingdom. They're saying, here, these are the keywords that brought you traffic. Now just go use them and we'll send you more traffic. And it's like, okay, thanks. Like, it's really cool. You'd think that, you'd want to go target some of the keywords that were showing impressions but not bringing much engagement, like what we do with Search Console reports. But it's with Insights, it's crazy because Insights says, okay, these keywords brought the most traffic. Then you go optimize for those keywords and you'll find that you'll get more traffic from those. It's crazy. Okay, question number 3, I'll talk about that via support as well. Number 4, do you guys offer a keyword research package? Why, yes, we do. I'm so glad you asked. mgyb.co, you can check it out. That's what Marco was just talking about.
The package isn't ready yet, but he can reach out to support at mgyb.co, and we will be happy to see what we can set up for you.
Okay, cool. What I'll do right now is, Marco, if you're good with this, I've got that link ready. We could open this up. I think, are you good with 5 people?
Yeah, but let's 5. 5 is okay.
So first 5, and Ted, if you don't get this, since you asked, you can ping us privately and we'll hook you up. But you guys, it's a discount since it's not live yet. It's $97. But you'll need to pay and then send in proof of your purchase to support, and then we'll go from there.
And guys, $97 is a gift for what you get. It's a friggin' gift.
All right. Chris posted this from support from Michael Hasty. He said, would it be a good practice to use bit links on the links within content once it hits the second tier so that all links pointed at tier 1 obfuscated, pardon me, and parasite DA and trust from, say, Bitly or Owly, or does that not make sense? No, I know what you mean, but it's really unnecessary, Michael. First of all, Bitly will arbitrarily reassign a 301 redirect, which is when you first set up a redirect with Bitly, a short link, right? It's a 301 redirect. But then Bitly just arbitrarily decides on its own, for whatever reason, whenever it wants, with no rhyme or reason that any of us can ever make sense of, it will just assign a 302 tag, a spam tag, which is essentially a 302 redirect. It turns it into a 302 redirect. It puts a spam tag in the HTML header of the redirect. I guess it's crazy, but it will even show if you do a like a where goes or redirect-checker.org or whatever. You can see it in redirect checkers, and you can see the spam tag, and it will show as a 302. And it's not that it does it on all links; it just does it on some links. And you don't. There's really no rhyme or reason that we can tell to what makes Bitly decide that it's a spam link and turns it into a 302. So I don't recommend using Bitly for that. That's why we've never mentioned using Bitly in any of our training, because of that reason, right? So now Owly, as far as I know, is that a 301 or is that a 302? I believe
last time I checked it, yeah, it's a 301, and it's a very powerful domain. They're really good.
Yeah. So Owly is a different story. You can, if you want, use that. Like for example, with syndication networks, guys, and IFTTT, if you're setting up your own, you can go in and go into the settings, for your user settings, and go in there, and you have to turn off link shortening, or else it will automatically convert all of your links that run through IFTTT to an IFT.TT link or something like that. It's a unique IFTTT whatever short link, and so that's the same thing, right? It's still shortening the link for you. And so would you be siphoning some DA or whatever from IFTTT to have your links run through there? Maybe, possibly. I personally don't like it. That's why our syndication networks, when you buy them from us, I always turn that off, that automatic link shortening through IFTTT, because I'd rather post the actual URL in the post. So again, it's really a personal preference. I think you're really splitting hairs if you're thinking that you can siphon some DA and stuff like that from those short links. I mean, you may be able to, but it's not something I really sweat too much. If I'm going to do any short link stuff, I use Google short links, and I know that's kind of going to be going away next year, but I'm still using the shit out of Google short links while I can. So also, can we code the canonical into the RSS attribution settings for like Yoast, for example? Well, yeah, you could, but that's HTML. And remember, the attribution link goes into the RSS. So I guarantee you that this wouldn't work in the RSS XML markup, right? Markup, confirm that for me. Or am I right in saying that if you put this in the Yoast attribution setting, that it's going to paste it just like it looks like this in the actual RSS feed? It won't actually convert to a URL, right?
I don't think it will. I mean, I have to try it, but yeah, I'm almost sure that it won't render properly. Yeah,
so Michael, you can test that. If I had a test blog open right now, I'd do it, but I don't. But you can test that, but I can pretty much guarantee that it's not, because if you try to just put regular HTML in that attribution text area in Yoast or even in our plugin, it doesn't publish right, because remember, our RSS feeds that's XML format, correct? And so that it doesn't accept HTML like direct. That text box really just accepts text. I guess it does accept HTML, but I don't know that this would work. I honestly don't. You can test it, but I don't know that it would work. So try it. Just add it in, and then go take a look at your RSS feed. And if you have to, view source and see if you can view the source code for that RSS page, when you open it up, I recommend looking at that in Firefox because you'll see it in HTML format, and then right click and then view page source, and you should be able to see this if it took. All right. But I don't know. That's a good good test. I'm gonna actually test that myself when we get off this webinar, and if it works, then I'll put that on the update list for Syndication Academy. Look Within says, where can I order the keyword research? It was mentioned on last week's Humpday Hangouts. Well, there you go. Contact support. Apparently, we don't have the sales page up for that yet, so just contact support at mgyb.co, and we can get you squared away. Gillette says, I bought your drive stack through SerpSpace based on recommendations here and on Facebook. It's been about 3 weeks, and I don't see much, if any, of a boost. I feel like I must be missing something. Is it too soon? What can I do to increase the power of the drive stack? I'll let you answer that one, Marco.
Yeah, this sets me off on a question. Did you order link building when you ordered your package? Did you order the full drive stack plus G site? Because then you would have gotten 2 G sites, the classic and the new. So there's a lot of questions here. This doesn't tell me anything. Just if you ordered just a drive stack and it's very competitive, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do much. It needs more, which is why we recommend that you do a G site. And there's a way that G site is done, and there are things that you can do with the G site. You should have gotten the done for you users guide. And the Done For You Users Guide directs you on what you're supposed to do with your drive stack. If you didn't get that, send a ticket to support at mgyb.co, and we'll send you the Done For You Users Guide.
Yeah, and I was going to say that if there's, it's our builders, whether they were in SerpSpace or now under MGYB. So if there's, any issues that needed to be like taking a look at or whatever, I'm sure support could take a look at that for you. But it's probably just that you're in a competitive market and you probably need some additional signals, right? And there's lots of things that we can do with a drive stack. Look, a drive stack in itself is not necessarily going to, create a push or a ranking boost. Sometimes it does. It depends on the level of competition. But what the drive stack is like a first line of defense. It becomes like your target for all other things that you do, which is amazing because that's how you can really boost the shit out of whatever property you want, is by setting up a drive stack and then using your drive stack as kind of like a filter for everything else that you do. Like you run everything through that, and it's so much stronger. And we've got some stuff that we've been talking about in both local GMB Pro, also in RYS and the Mastermind, and in local Lease Pro, some stuff that has just been working really well. The webinar that Marco just did with Daryl from last week or the week before talked about all that stuff. So I highly recommend you get some more advanced training too if you need to, Jalad. Quit This House says, good day, gents. Thanks for allowing me to ask real world questions here. When ordering press releases, should you drip them over 21 days or get them all right away? That's a really good question. Personally, I like to drip them out, but I know like Rob, he did a lot of testing, helped me do a lot of testing when I was developing the local PR Pro method. And Rob, he just hammered them like one right after the other, like day after, like one, press release today, press release tomorrow, press release the next day, press release the following day. And he would just hammer them. And I preferred to drip them out about once every 2 weeks. Like if I was going to hit the same property, the same, website, I would drip them out once every 2 weeks. That's how I preferred to do it, but he just hammered them. And we both got similar results. So I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I'm going to tell you that my preferred method is to drip them out. Okay. But apparently, so, test. If you have something you can test on, that might be a good test. Like in other words, if you've got, several properties that you provide marketing services for, you do SEO for or whatever, maybe test dripping them out on one and then kind of doing them in succession, in quick succession, rapid succession on the other, and see if one does better than the other. Again, I prefer to drip them out.
Yeah, it's safer to drip, but it's so much fun to just hammer the shit out of it and watch it jump all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, Paul Ashley's up. What's up, Paul? He says, hey, guys, I have an electrician that I generate leads for that succumbed to the mammoth sales force of Yelp. Yeah, he probably just got tired of them harassing him with solicitation calls. So he started advertising with him in hopes that the phone would stop ringing so much, right? So I can feel that pain. Yelp sucks, guys. Anyways, he succumbed to the mammoth sales force of Yelp about a year ago. In my opinion, Yelp is a blood-sucking parasite of a sales force that won't stop calling my lead gen sites. You're absolutely right, Paul. I spend a lot of money in wasted call center calls every month because of Yelp. I freaking hate Yelp. 98% Salesforce, 2% lead gen. Yeah, isn't that the truth? I think the guy is wasting his money every month on Yelp advertisement. With the money he's paying Yelp, he could have me post to his GMB every day, 2 times a day. He is convinced that Yelp is the bee's knees. What is your opinion of Yelp and advertising for electricians on that platform? And should I steer him away from these Yelp people? Okay, look, you can't convince other. I mean, like the guys, you just said it in your question, Paul. He's already made up his mind that Yelp is the be all end all. Like he's not ready to turn away from Yelp. And so you trying to convince him of otherwise is going to be difficult, because remember, that's a 2-sale process, right? You've got to first sell him on why Yelp isn't the only thing he needs. And then you have to sell him on why what you provide is, or is something that he should also do or include or whatever. Does that make sense? So that's a 2-sale process. That's much more difficult. So in my opinion, and based upon, I don't know if you were able to pick up Local Lease Pro or not, can't get it for the stupid inexpensive price that it was before, but it is still available to purchase if you want it. But anyways, if you use that specific strategy, what I would do is whatever service area this guy has, I'd go out and start securing your own lead gen assets for electricians in that area. So set up your own pseudo or fake or generic, electrician company name, and go start securing as many assets as you can within his service area. And if you follow the training, you'll find some that are going to be easy to get results from, like with very little work. And do those things. And then once you start generating calls for electrical services and electrician services in that specific location, then you approach them and you say, look, you're paying all this money for Yelp. And you could even ask, I don't know if he'd be willing to do this, but if you're already a consultant or an advisor of his of some sort, you could either ask him to produce Yelp reports so that you could compare to how many calls you're generating through your lead gen assets versus how many he generated in a month based upon what his ad spend was, right? Or you could even ask for access to his Yelp business account and run that report for him so that you could show and say, like, look, this is how much you spent in Yelp, and this is how many calls you got or leads you got. And this is what I've got, and I'm willing to, and these are, this is my call volume for the last 30 days. And so I'm willing to charge you whatever. My point is that if you already have the lead gen now, and what happens if he says no? Okay, fuck him. Next, you've already got lead gen assets in that same service area that one of his competitors may very well be interested in. And that's the other thing, guys. How do you find the contractors that are willing to pay for these types of leads? Very simple. Go look and see who's advertising. Right? This guy's advertising, so he's paying money for leads. So he would probably be a good candidate if you approached him with a bunch of leads already. In other words, you have assets that are already producing leads. Instead of trying to convince him, hey, let me do this stuff for your one GMB property or your one website. Let me work on your one asset. Why don't you go build a bunch of assets in his area? And then come to him and say, look, I've got all these things generating leads. Instead of your one, I've got 6 or I've got 8 that are generating leads, and I'll lease these to you or sell them to you on a pay-per-lead basis. Right. So anyways, that's what Paul, that's what I would do is guys, I'm telling you, I've switched my entire business model back to that, because right now, at least for right now, it's super easy to secure these assets, guys, and start building your own portfolio, which keeps you in control the whole time. That's exactly what Local Lease Pro was about. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up. I think I can try to get through one more. Antonio says, first of all, I want to thank you for the knowledge you share here. I've been following Humpday Hangouts almost religiously now. +1 that. Thank you, Antonio. He says, lately, Bradley, you've been talking about PRs. When you apply them to GMB, do you link the PR to the map URL, to the business, or both? Which gives us the best results? Both. Just switch it up. I mean, guys, like most press releases will tell you, 3 links maximum. Or best practice is no more than 3 links. So just switch it up. All of your verified entity profiles, which would be, Google stuff, all your syndication network properties, if you have them, any branded properties that you have, those all become great targets for press releases. Because remember, what you're doing is you're creating co-citation, which essentially you're creating by linking to your properties from, and especially from like press release sites, media sites, news sites, and things like that, you're accruing authority And by cross-posting or linking, cross-linking, interlinking to other branded properties, you're basically passing that authority around that you're accruing. If that makes sense. So yeah, just switch it up. What I do is just go search your company name. Usually 2 points of data from the NAP. So like name and address or name and phone. I usually do company name and phone number in Google, right? I'll go do a search for company name plus phone number. And then I'll collect all of the branded profiles that are on page 1 and page 2 of Google. And I just put them in a spreadsheet under what I call a target URL column. And then that becomes we just cycle through or rotate through those links in the target URL column for all content marketing. So for each press release we publish, we just, select another 1, 2, or 3 links from that target URL list. And so we just cycle through that, rotate through them. Okay. It works really well. I know that you're on the lease side of things right now, but would you go to search for clients to optimize and manage their GMB? How would you look for them? What would be the things that you would take into consideration? Well, very similar to what I taught in Local Lease Pro, you can still use a tool like that to go find properties, GMB profiles for companies that are actually already ranked that are close to being ranked, right? So for example, imagine looking at the results from one of those reports, guys, and you see like, 4 or 5 non-owner verified profiles, and one of them happens to be in like position 5, right, of that report. And it's a non-owner verified profile, but maybe they have a website in the website column, right? So that they have a website, so they understand the importance of having a digital presence, yet their GMB profile isn't optimized, it's not claimed, it's not verified, it's not owner verified. So you could approach them, right? Contact them and say, listen, I can optimize your profile since you're already sitting in a fairly good position, right? Almost right outside the 3-pack. I can optimize your profile for you. And it's likely that we'll be able to push you into the 3-pack, very quickly, within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever you determine your capabilities are. But my point is, that's how you would do it you can use that same data, guys, to find opportunities to pitch for your optimization services for their assets. I don't recommend that. I mean, you can do that, but I'm telling you, you're better off building your own assets first, because then you maintain control. Okay. All right, guys, we have to wrap it up. I'm really sorry about the questions that we didn't get to. There was a lot of questions today, but we're at the 1 hour mark. We do have Mastermind webinar tomorrow, and we got a lot of stuff to go through, guys. Just about this, exactly what we've been talking about. And we're going to be talking about, you guys will get a little bit of a sneak peek about some POFU topics tomorrow during Mastermind. You won't get them all, obviously, but you'll get some. So look forward to that, and we'll see you all then. Marco, thanks for hanging out, buddy.
No problem, man. And just so people know, yes, Local Lease Pro is still available. It's not at the ridiculous price where it was sold at first, but you can still get it at a fairly decent price. So yeah, jump on it if you haven't.
I believe it's I think it's still the price that we said we're going to launch it at, but we're going to raise the price for sure, because it's just too much value in there, guys. And especially once we do the webinar next month, the update webinar, it's that it'll end up being another $1,000 product. Part of the reason I put it at $299 was so that I could give it to our mastermind members, but there's a lot of value in that course. So anyways, go check it out. Thanks, Marco. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, everyone.